Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I'm joined by Roy, who is wearing the most amazing hat. Say hello, Roy.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to just get out of the way and let you start telling your story.
Okay, well, like many people on here, it all comes down to something quite personal and something which is probably, you don't realise it's a story until you're kind of getting towards the end of it, even though the journey, as they say, is very ongoing. And so it all started back probably, I think, 15 years ago. And I'd been a soldier before, so I decided to rejoin, which was rather exciting. And at the grand age of 34, I rejoined and managed to get through. And I joined the Royal Military Police as a general service policeman. I joined knowing that I would probably go to Afghanistan. That was my motivation. And there's lots of bad things going on in the world, and I figured that, I'd done this before, and wouldn't be a terrible thing to go and get stuck in again, and to make myself proud. And at the time, believe it or not, I had a taxi company and I was overweight, and one of my friends had recently passed away. He was only 35 through suicide, and I thought, there's more to life than this. And I didn't see myself living much longer being overweight and everything. So I thought, right, there's my challenge. The challenge was initially getting in, and obviously passing military fitness and all the combat tests. And lo and behold, I did it. Bit of motivation, and I joined. My journey then began for Afghanistan, and a couple of years training, specialising in certain subjects, being a military policeman, and eventually I went out to Afghanistan, and we had to fight for positions to go. And I was one of these lucky people who was embedded with the Afghan National Police. And after a few months there, we began to have some pretty heavy losses amongst the military police, and some well-covered incidents in the media regarding the military police. And unfortunately, due to an incident involving probably legacy landmine, I got injured, and I had a C5 injury and lost control of my face and all those bits that go along with that. And sadly, that saw me taken away from the battlefield and waking up in the UK in a hospital with all kinds of morphine and neck braces, and with the initial thought that I'd broken my neck or something. It did take a week or so to get to that point, because when I first went to our medic with and it seems funny now, I first went to my medic with the neck injury. They said, it's probably, because I couldn't feel my hands, they said it's probably frostbite. So we soldiered on for a week, and eventually I was drooling. My eye was down to one side, and I had some sort of neurological problem. And they said, you better get to the doctors. And then I woke up in the UK, and my kit was still over. Yeah, always the way. And so after that, I was there for 3 or 4 days in the hospital. Decided it was a compression injury, a bit of long-term aftercare and some physio, and probably a chance of an operation in the future. And then I was just sent home, and that was that. And at that point, although the army have been fantastic to me since then, at that point I was a bit neglected, to be fair, and I felt that. At that time, that's when the demons started to creep in. You don't come from, as we call it, proper war fighting to living in the middle of the countryside with nobody around. And I didn't know it, but I was displaying all the signs of, a common word used these days, PTSD. But to the extent that it got so serious, I couldn't go out in daylight, and then I couldn't go out my front room. And I couldn't go at all. No, I couldn't be up during daylight hours, and I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't talk without losing control completely, either physically or mentally, or having those horrendous sort of anxiety attacks. And to be frank, I couldn't go outside without wetting myself. I was that scared. And not bad for a military policeman. And so I took a recovery with. I went to my local GP, and which took ages to get there. I couldn't believe it. It was such a mental battle to get down there. And it turns out, I didn't know it. He was an ex-serviceman himself, and he said, "You got PTSD, mate." And I was diagnosed with acute PTSD, and I went through with the military through their rehabilitation program with the Royal Marines, where I was there for 2.5 years, getting treatment, all kinds of therapies, and talking therapies and medical therapies and physical therapy, and they eventually discharged me, which I didn't expect anything less. I kind of wanted to, I'd gained a new identity, someone who I wasn't before, and everyone knew me as a military policeman and serviceman, combat veteran, and suddenly I was out in the street. So at that point, it could have gone downhill. But I wanted something which I tried a few bits and bobs. I went to work for a military charity for a while where I did some sailing with them, and I eventually started doing some of their marketing for them. And the journey was so long every day I couldn't sit down for too long without my arms going numb. And so I had to sort of retract from that and pick another job. So I had a dog, and I thought, right, if I start walking this dog, I'll get fit and I'll be able to get used to getting outside again. Because it's really hard going in open spaces. Having been, picked on by snipers in the past, it's pretty challenging being in an open space all the time, And I used to, bin bags used to make me jump, and I used to blow around in the wind and stuff like that. It'd be terrible. And so the dog, you see, with a dog, you can't lie to a dog. You can tell them you're happy, but they know. And I found immense solace in being able to be myself when I'm out and about, and also get fit as well. So I was walking 2 or 3 times a day, and I was taking my friends' dogs, and the dogs were getting bigger. And I thought, hang on a minute, I can make a living out of this. And I did. And a year and 1 month ago, I set up Rough Walkers, a dog walking company. And now I've got 6 employees. I've got a trainee behaviourist. But since then, I've gone on to do all of my behaviourist qualifications. So I'm now a dog behaviourist. And I'm at the very cusp of being invited into the Guild of Master Dog Trainers. Wow. And in the last 8 months, I think I've seen 250 dogs, where, to my knowledge, we've got a 100% success rate. Now, the good news about this is, how do you go from being stressed and unable to deal with people to dealing with them in their own houses, on their turf? And the simple fact is, they're not concentrating on me, they're concentrating on the dog, and they're concentrating on what I'm doing. They're not talking about my history or what I was or what I could have been or friends I lost or injuries that are sustained. It doesn't matter. They're just worried about their dogs, because people are so emotionally attached to their fur babies, which is okay. And generally that's half the problem. And I deal with everything from angry dogs to small dogs to bitey dogs to dogs that eat their own poop to dogs that want to be very, very friendly with everything and everyone, dogs that want to dominate other dogs, every situation you can imagine. And I found myself to have a real natural ability with dogs. And I've even got my own little dog called Darcy, who's a dirty little pug. Shall I get her?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Come on. Do you want to see the camera? Come here, good girl. This is Darcy. And she is my stooge dog. So we purposely keep her barking. We don't train her not to. So when people say, oh, my dog doesn't like black dogs, I bring Darcy along. And then I soon see it's the problem with the thanks, Darcy. Famous. The problem is with the person, not the dog. And it's about socialization and things like that. So we offer lots and lots of different scenarios and things that we can do for the customers. So we do walk the dogs, we socialize. We're starting puppy training soon. We've got a dog nutritionist on board as well. So sorry about the pinging in the background.
It's always
we run quite a successful Facebook site. And I say successful, we've got over 600 likes within a year and followers. And what happens now is, when the dogs go out for a walk with our walkers, we put them on Facebook, to show they've been walked and where they were. Because we don't just walk a dog on the street, we take it on an hour-long adventure, and with their GPS tracks, so they can see where they've been. All our walkers are fully insured, full dog first aid trained. They're as good as they can be. And DBS, we hold keys for people's houses, so they can go on holiday and leave their dog. There's nothing we don't do regarding dogs, and we thoroughly enjoy it. And I've got a fantastic team of people around me who all have some kind of link to the military, husbands or ex-partners or whatever it is, and some have been victim to the same things I have as well. So it's really encouraging to have those guys on board and that support network that provides. So I'm hoping to take that through the roof, really. And I found that, not resilience. I think if I was a younger man, I don't have any doubt I wouldn't be here today. That I have no doubt. I have a fantastic wife, fantastic family who have supported me through that. But it's only because of my experience and age that got me through that predicament. Because lots of guys have unfortunately passed away since they've returned. And you know, some of the suicide figures I read are pretty horrendous, to be honest with you. And there's so many other things that can kill you, and it's sad that these guys are taking their own lives. And you know, I've got a soft spot for anybody in that situation. Anything we can do to help, we will. And we've given speeches to veterans and done events with veterans to try and show them how to move on. But from someone with experience, because what we find is that when you go to civilian services, you know what, these people are, I'm going to say, the counsellors, they sort of deal with, you know, cats that have passed away and people who are sad, and they can't relate to, you know, what we do, and even if the language is different. And I unfortunately had one counsellor who didn't come back because I think she left in a bit of a state, because she said, be frank and open, and I was, and it was, you know, on reflection, probably a bit grim, to be honest with you, but it's where I was at the time. So there you go. So that is my story. Not ever so impressive compared with some of the ones you got, but it's about a guy making success out of a bad situation, and almost the self-help. Speech therapy is going very well. It's almost the self-help aspect to doing something that you enjoy. And I read once, and I've read many times, as we all have, if you can find something you love and get paid for it, then you've got a job for life. All words to that effect. Quotations were never on point. And that's what I believe we've done. You know, we're not making £1 million. We might one day. We're just at the cusp of franchising what we're doing now. Yeah, it might happen, but we're not there to make £1 million. We're there to have a sustainable system of keeping well, keeping healthy, keeping happy, and being able to look after my family as well. That's really, really important to me.
Brilliant. I love that. And you know, it's not about having a massive impressive story. I would say that what your story is on that end of the spectrum, because it's about always trying to look for the positives in a negative. So I think you'll probably agree with me on the level of mental health, that there's some guys that are thinking deep, sad thoughts, but they're not reaching out for help because they feel their story isn't as big or as important as somebody else. But
because their identity is that they were. I mean, if you'll find that your job is your identity or what you do, people know me as the dog walking or the dog whisperer or whatever they call me now. The dog father. That was a good one. So you get known for what you are, and I was known as a soldier. I was known as a military policeman, you know. And you get guys who their whole life has been around the military, and that's what they are. And suddenly, not only are they stripped of their identity and their peer group where they would have got help from, now they've suffering this as well. They don't want to be seen as that weak individual, whatever the wording is. And mental health only the last few years has come up with something which is not a weakness. It's a coping mechanism. And so many don't do anything about it, and they do succumb to their own, you know, their own hand, as it were, you know, or they do themselves such damage that they end up in prison or homeless or not participating in society anymore. And it's real sad, because these guys have the most to give, you know, but where's the audience, you know?
I love that you found, I found it very interesting what you were saying about the dogs, that when you're interacting with people, it's not about you and another person, it's about you and the dog and them and their dog, and it's about the dog, and that's sort of almost a buffer for you so that you can be the professional without having to talk about your past or all the things that might upset you. I remember
Sorry, so you're absolutely right. It's spot on, because the thing is, I used to have a real problem. I used to have to wear sunglasses all the time, even when I was recovered or not as bad as I was, because I couldn't make eye contact with people without crying, to be frank. Not because I was sad, because emotionally I couldn't contain that overwhelming fear or whatever it was. So I couldn't talk to them without crying. So being out at night with sunglasses on draws more attention. So I tried crash helmets, I tried a motorbike, so I couldn't drive a car. It's ridiculous. But I found that if I was talking about, or someone had a dog and they go, "Oh, that's your dog," then that works. This is Darcy, and she does this, this, and this, and what does your dog do? And suddenly, it's all gone. I don't have to worry about that angle anymore, which is really cool.
Sure. And you mentioned earlier about younger guys, and that you felt that age was on your side that helped you through it. What would your sort of message be to younger guys? You know, keep looking for you found dogs, they might find something different, I suppose. What would you say to someone that found themselves with PTSD?
Do you know what? If it comes down to, be honest with yourself. You know, if you're lying to yourself, you're on a road to a lot of pain and grief. If you're honest with yourself, and at the first opportunity you get help, get a diversion, get coping techniques, get the tools to do what you need to do, you know, then you're on a nice upwards path. If you hide it and lie to yourself, you go, no, I'm fine. Oh, it's just an occasional dream. Oh, I just collapsed once, or I got angry for no reason at all, just once, you know, it becomes normal for you. And once it becomes normal to shout at a woman at Tesco's because her trolley wasn't back in the right place, it sounds ridiculous. But to have absolute rage for something which is so minor, or the opposite, when there's been an accident and you're blasé about it because nobody got killed, it's only plastic, who cares? You know, to be so blasé that your family don't think you care, and it's just a splinter, it's just a cough, or it's, you know, or it's just a broken arm, you're not dead, move on. It's one extreme to the other. Wow. So you need to be honest with yourself. If you've got honesty with yourself, you'll win the day, I've got no doubt.
Right, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us and telling your story. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about, or
follow me on Facebook?
Raf Walkers. I definitely will. I'll share all the links at the end of the video so that people can follow along. This franchise.
I do make videos as well, and a lot of accidents happen when I'm out and about, which are generally hilarious. And the dogs never do what they're told, but we do as many videos as we can. And we make it as much fun as we can. And we're not just standing in the field watching dogs. We are actually doing something with them and training them and having fun. So I love doing that part of it. It's really enjoyable. Oi. So just reacting to the postman. You see that? But you know why they react to the postman, don't you?
No, why is that?
Because the postman comes, the dog barks, postman leaves, dog's happy. Dog thinks it's done a job. It's only barking because the postman, if he stood there and went, what do you want, dog? They wouldn't do anything. No, I've got nothing else than that. Thank you for your time as well, Pollyanna. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate your time, and I'll share the video, I'll share the links to all your channels and whatnot so that people can follow along. If you like this video, do please hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. If you search at Be Glad Movement, you will be able to find us. Please do get in touch if you've got a story that you'd like to share. It doesn't matter if it's similar to somebody else's, because I really do believe your story in your voice has the ability to help someone in their time of need. So please do get in touch, and I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Many thanks.